Hey guys, and welcome back to the Mission Makers podcast. Now, during the season break, we're diving back into some of our favourite moments of season 2. And this week, we've put together some of the best insights from a topic that has come up consistently throughout the show, and that is geared around equality. It's a topic very close to my heart, being in two heavily male-dominated industries of music and motorsport. And so today, I'm extremely proud to share the thoughts from some of the biggest champions in the fight for equality that we've had on the show. We start with Sallyann Della Casa, who shares her advice on founding a tech company as a female. Then we hear from Shelley Zallis, whose initiatives have transformed the workplace for over 18,000 women with the Female Quotient. And after this, we hear from a good friend of mine, Dania Akeel, who is Saudi Arabia's first female superbike racer, who's currently competing in the FIA World Cup cross-country rally Bahas. And lastly, we hear from the one and only Catherine Bond Muir, the driving force behind the groundbreaking W Series, which is changing the face of motorsport for women across the world. So let's dive
what
straight
advice do you have
in.
for women who would like to pursue a career in tech and start their own businesses within this field?
Sure. So I would say to you that, remember, I've gone through one career already. So I'm going to kind of address those females who have gone through one career. You know, for me, it was law. I don't come with a tech background. The fact that I can have a tech company, I have a patent filed on an algorithm that I'm not really even good at math. Anybody can do it if I can do it. And I think that knowing, that self-awareness of knowing what I was really good at and what I was really weak at, and surrounding myself with a team of people to complement that. Any female today, I don't care, what age you are, what background you have, you are able, and I think the world we live in today, most of us are going to be involved in tech in some way or another. It's hard. It's darn hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, running a tech company and, having a tech team in India. And there's, cultural differences, and there's all kinds of stuff that breaks all the time, and understanding what a tech stack is and APIs and you name it. Hardest thing I've ever done. But how fulfilling to know, if you asked me this question 3 years ago, would you be running a tech company today? I would have laughed at you. And the fact that I'm doing it, and I'm stretching tall, wide. I wake up every morning kind of going, holy crap, what did I get myself into? But I'm having the time of my life, Farah. And I encourage any woman out there, if you have just that whisper in your soul that says there's something there and it might involve tech, and even if you have no background in it, I would say go look.
So after, a number of years actually working in research where you were so successful, you decided to switch gears and set up the Female Quotient to advance equality in the workplace. So talk to me a little bit about that. What was the sort of light bulb moment that led you towards spearheading this movement?
It really happened by accident. I sold my company. I'm the pioneer of online research. So if you've ever taken a survey on the internet, sorry, not sorry, but I am the mother of that invention. And I knew that I felt it's very lonely at the top when you are the only woman. You're breaking the barriers. It's how I got my nickname, Chief Troublemaker, breaking all the rules that make no sense, creating new ones so that I could thrive in the workplace and get past the messy middle and rise to leadership. To do that, for me, I needed to start my own company. I sold that company to the third largest research company in the world. And once again, I'm one of two women on a public board of 25. And, knowing that, I've been told there's no room for emotion in the boardroom, or I push people out of their comfort zone, or, all of those things. And, you have an option of agreeing and becoming what you're not, or breaking the rules like I did and creating the new ones so that I could bring my best self to the workplace and also lead by example, like flipped legacy leadership. I wanted to create a new form of what we believe leaders should be. And so it really happened by accident. And I talk about all of my most important moves have been heartbeat moments, not cognitive, not rational, not justified, but you follow your heart, female intuition, all of those things that, we talk about all the time. And I just wanted to bring the research industry into technology. I wanted to go to CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. I heard there was 150,000 people, less than 3% women. Intimidating. Put me in a market research conference anywhere in the world, I'll know someone. I've been in market research 35 years. Put me in technology, I know no one. And so I have two options: don't go, or do what I did, invite a few girlfriends. And I told them to invite their friends. 24 hours later, 50 women showed up. We walked the floor together. Two remarkable things happened. One, every guy's head turned, like, where the heck did all you women come from? And that's when we coined the phrase power the pack. A woman alone is power, collectively we have impact. It was this whoosh, it was just this moment where you walk in and you just feel like you dominate, you own the room. We owned the room as a pack. And the second was, I was surrounded by people just like me, work-life balance issues, perfection issues, imposter syndrome, all of those things that we struggle with, too bossy, too emotional, too this, too that. And we finally said, you know what, if there's a boys club, let's have a girls lounge. The opposite of boy is girl, the opposite of club is lounge. And, you know, let's march forward. Well, since then, we've connected 50,000 women across every industry, across 100 countries. Women at the beginning were like, but we're not girls. I said, have you ever heard of a man object to being a boy in the boys club? Never. Why are we creating our own double standards? And that's how the Female Quotient was born. It just happened, went from a moment to a movement. Now we've evolved Girls Lounge to a quality lounge so that it's a leadership challenge to close the gaps, not a female issue or a female challenge. And, you know, we are helping Fortune 500 close the equity gaps and really advance all women in the workplace from where they are to where they want to go and helping them get there.
That's incredible. In that journey, what have been some of the hardest types of people or mindsets that you've encountered to change perspectives?
You know, change happens if you choose to make a change. We can, you know, we have historically been admiring the problems for so long, talking about what we're going to do, signing pledges and petitions. To me, that's a surrogate for not doing anything. It's about action. And I don't care if it's a little step or a big step, but keep making steps forward. And so, you know, the mindset of those that are this defensive, that I'm doing the best, you know, change is really hard. And a lot of people don't want to change because there's, you know, we always say you got to fail sometimes to grow, right? Failure leads to your greatest successes. A lot of people are afraid of failure. And it's not even failure, it's just making a mistake. You know, sometimes when you're building something that doesn't exist, you got to try new things. You might be wrong, but you also might be right. And so I think that that's, you know, for me, change is choice. And if you are not intentional, you are not willing to assess where you are, where you want to go, and how you're going to get there, and hold yourself responsible and accountable, don't bother, because you're not going to change. So it really is a mindset of openness, of listening to hear, not listening to respond. I heard that the other day. You know, that's how real change happens, not when you just are sitting in status quo going in circles, but you're pushing yourself into the fringe, to that barrier where it's the scary part, right? But it's where true change, you know, happens. It's not going to happen from the inside. It's got to happen from the outside, closing what doesn't work, opening a new door of opportunity, but also potentially of trial.
So what would you advise leaders in organizations when there is that resistance to change from people within their own teams?
You got to hold people accountable. I think we need accountability for change. You know, we're all about closing the equity gaps, the parity policy pipeline, parity, the wage gap. If you are aware that there's a gap and you have intention and consciousness to close it, then what is holding you back? It's going to cost you some money. It's going to pinch a little bit. But as soon as you do it, like Mark Benioff, that becomes your new norm. You're setting yourself up with a new standard. Policies. We need to really very consciously, proactively think about the policies and benefits in the workplace that will allow everyone to bring their best self, their true self, their whole self table. You know, we talk about flexibility. In COVID, we see that flex schedule is working really well, but it's working well because men and women are all at home. When we go back to the office, not back to work, we're all working harder than ever before, but when we go back to a physical office, if we have flexibility now, we have elective flexibility schedules. Well, who's going to take it? Women and primary caregivers. Ding, dong, ding. We're going to get dinged again, right? So policies and benefits, being very conscious of what we need to ensure that everyone is treated not only equally, but with equity. because we all start in different places. And then when we look at pipeline, we've been filling the pipeline, but how do we create the pathway to leadership, which is where we typically see women and women of color disproportionately being impacted, at the primary caregiving, stages of their lives. So it's about consciousness.
Absolutely. And we all have, equity in this equation at the end of the day. And we all deserve that equality, and deserving it is one thing, but as you said, it takes small steps, big steps, but it takes a step to move forward and change things. But now, knowing that sort of 99% of your company is female led, what in this sort of crisis, what have you seen? What do you think are some of the key things that have stood out to you about the power of feminine leadership, and how that might be helping sort of transform or transcend, let's say, this time?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Well, we see the countries that are actually the most proactive with COVID, that have done the best, are countries run by women. And so if you think about the feminine qualities, compassion, empathy, passion, resilience, nurturing, those are qualities that are caregiving qualities. And caregiving is still by default predominantly women for the most part. When men are primary caregivers, they will have the same challenges. But those are the greatest qualities of leadership today, and those are qualities of caregiving. And yet we're losing our best leaders to caregiving. So what we are finding, if you actually Google now, best qualities of leadership, you will see empathy coming up as one, empathy and compassion as top 10. I don't think we've ever seen that before. So we need to make those invisible skills quite visible. Those are the soft skills that are hard to quantify, and yet, because they're not measurable, they're not the masculine, decisive, linear, aggressive, analytic. They are the soft skills. And so how do we quantify the value of soft skills and hold people accountable for those skills? And by the way, even start interviewing with those skills in mind. I'd love to see a job description. We're looking for an empathetic, charismatic, collaborative, visionary leader that can deliver a great ROI. How about that? Pick me, I'll take that any day. So these are the kinds of things that we're working on to create a shift in expectation, and also to create measurement for accountability, and to hold everyone in an organization responsible for creating the culture that they want to belong to.
Absolutely. And I think this time has really, enlightened people as to why most C-suite leaders value those soft skills more than any of the hard skills that we can develop, because that's what will carry us through and allow us to survive and thrive, particularly in this moment. So on the flip side, obviously we can't forget men who do play a big part in facilitating this much needed change. And I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but what sort of message do you think it's helpful for us as women to put across to our male counterparts, be it our husbands, our partners, sons, brothers?
Yeah, well, first of all, number one, equality starts at home. So partnership, shared, if you have a double income family and you're raising your children, partnership starts at home, equality starts at home, sharing the responsibility starts at home if you want to have two successful working parents. So I think that it really is shared parenting is very important, number one. Number two, gender equality is not a female issue. It's a social and economic issue. So I don't even refer to it as, when people talk about male allies, I'm like, we don't need male allies. It's leadership. Leadership, though, is by default men. Caregiving is by default women. So I just talk about it as a leadership issue. We don't need male allies. We need leadership activists. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, if you are leading the charge where you get to make the choices and the decisions, then I hold you responsible. I hold me responsible. I hold us all responsible. So I think lexicon matters. It is not about male allies. It is about leadership activists. It is truly about all of us taking responsibility for the changes that we want to see. And showing men and women that we all can be successful in the workplace, holding the same jobs. It just does require a little more flexibility for primary caregivers that tend to carry an unequal, or as Eve Rodsky says, the invisible work that is not visible, We need to make it visible and then accommodate around it so that people could thrive at home and at work.
Definitely. And actually, as you're saying that, it sort of really struck a chord with me, because it literally what our podcast is about, the name Mission Makers. We're all, we all have a mission. We all have some level of responsibility and leadership within our own homes or our professional environments. And yeah, it's very, very interesting and true what you say. So secondly, I'm sure that you've been asked this a lot, but you are like the first female superbike rider in Saudi. And I know firsthand, obviously, how much you love cars. We met at the Royal Automobile Club in London a few years back. So I want to hear from your perspective, what has been the reality of women not being allowed to drive in Saudi up until recently? Did you agree with it growing up? Did you understand why that was the case? And did it hinder you from actually being able to pursue and discover what you love in your own country?
So my case is a bit, so my view is when I was here till I was 14. And then I went to boarding school, and then I stayed in London for uni, and I officially came back when I was about 27. The first year I came back when I was 27, I got a job at a school, and I used to be driven there and back. I didn't feel contained or frustrated because I had access to a car and somebody to drive it whenever I wanted. So I never felt like something was limiting me, because it's what I knew. I had been born here without women driving, and the human mind just adapts. You just adapt, and if you have no reference, it's much easier to do that. It wasn't that I used to be able to drive and it was taken away and then given back. That wasn't the case. It was just not done, and I had access to a car that could take me whenever and wherever. So I can't speak for somebody who didn't have that access. I speak only for myself, which I recognize as a privileged situation. So, but that being said, when we were given the right to drive and I did get my license, I thought that it wasn't going to make a big difference, because it made a huge difference. Just psychologically, you being in the car and going somewhere that no one knows where you're going. I mean, it doesn't have to be a secret. You're probably just going to the pharmacy, but it gives you that ownership that no one has to know. Even the person who used to drive me, I mean, he was a nice guy, but he knew everything, where I was going all the time. And it wasn't in an authoritative way. It was just, he just knew because he was taking me. So when no one knew, you do get the sense of independence that you don't get otherwise. And that opened a lot of doors, not just in terms of like anything physical, but just mentally. You just see things differently when you have that sort of personal freedom and space. So it must have changed the psychology of people quite a bit. As I said, I never struggled or suffered in terms of mobility, but I did feel a psychological shift at being able to go places alone. Obviously, practically speaking as well, because before, when someone else was driving me, I would take him into consideration. He doesn't want to be in the car all day waiting for me to pick up things left, right, and center. I like to get up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym. Maybe that wouldn't suit some, but now that I'm alone and independent, I can go whenever, however, and for however long. So that was another element that also opened doors for me, instead of having to accommodate someone else's basic schedule just out of courtesy. It does make it, for sure.
Do you feel safe, like when you drive now, and do you feel that it was justified for it to have been banned because apparently it wasn't so safe? Do you feel there's an element of that, or
don't I can't give my view because I don't know. It wasn't as though I went around and did a poll and asked people what they thought of women driving when it was banned. I never did that. I just so I don't know if it was safe or unsafe. What I do know is today when I am driving, it feels completely normal, completely safe. All the other people I encounter on the road have no issue whatsoever with me being a woman They might have an issue if I cut in front of them or if I go too fast to overtake, things like that, fine. But I've never experienced any discrimination in terms of my gender on the road, not at all. And the first couple of weeks, I actually got my license the first week they were giving them out. And I got quite a few thumbs up from guys driving on the road. And, they would cheer like that, or they would do this, or there was a lot of encouragement. I've been lucky. I haven't been, target of anything negative. But so it's been wonderful. I like to speak from my personal experience and not from just these ideas of how many comments say what, because at the end of the day, I mean, people feel safe behind a computer to say whatever they want, right? But what impacts me is my day to day. And if I enter a space which is male dominated, then that's my choice, and I know why I'm doing it and why I'm here. It's because it feels natural to me and I enjoy it, and I see the community, it benefits each other and they help each other, and people are just basically progressing and developing and growing. And I just like the atmosphere of motorsport, and that's why I'm around, and I like the activity, the sport itself. So it matters to me. People will communicate me, and I've only had a positive experience. I'm sure that not everybody is applauding what I do, and that's their right. At the end of the day, everybody's opinion of you is not really your business. If you and I have a conversation, I'm naturally going to form an opinion, and you can't control that, right? So that's really how I see it here in this space. I mean, if you're one of the few females, people will have an opinion, but it doesn't have to be negative. And even if it is, it's okay. That's their right. As long as it doesn't affect or impact my rights and my day to day, then I'm not really concerned with it. What are my rights? My rights are I can get any racing license I want. I'm welcome into any tournament or championship. I can hold the Saudi flag when I race. These are my rights, and I'm given them. So if someone has a negative opinion, it doesn't impact me, but I have been mostly receiving positive feedback.
That's really good.
Yeah,
you have to take it with a pinch of salt, of course. It is, and that you're putting yourself up that to be judged, because people just do that, and like it doesn't, but it's sad to see, like it's sad to, I think there needs to be a lot more, like, sort of just, I don't know, boundaries online or whatnot, but I think that goes without saying. So,
and I think following your journey, you've spoken extensively about people's opinions, which are obviously quite strong about women in motorsport. And I remember hearing you say once, if I'd listened to people's opinions on the W Series, it would never have happened. What kind of criticism was the idea getting? Were they more from the people within the industry or outside? And how did you deal with that emotionally and mentally?
Well, I'm the youngest of 4 children, and so I'm so very close together. I had 2 older brothers that I had a very pugilistic relationship with. So I had a good ability not to take on board people's criticisms too much. But a lot of the criticism actually happened from friends of mine involved in the sports industry. One of the major criticisms was a systemic criticism, and this is back in 2016, 17, 18, was to say, Catherine, it's a great idea. It certainly is required in motorsport, but remember, no one watches women's sport. And that was but they were not wrong. I mean, at that time, they didn't. The stats of the people in watching women's sport was really small, and we all need luck. And in 2019, because of the Women's World Cup, I think that started to change the way that people looked at women's sport. They believed for the first time that it could become commercially successful. I mean, if you look at what we achieved just in the UK with our Channel 4 broadcast, we became, just within 6 races, we became the second most watched motorsport in the UK after F1. And we were the second most watched female sport after football. So, I mean, what that did demonstrate to us is that there is a potential audience out there. Well, there is an audience, it's no potential. We believed that there was a potential audience, but we demonstrated that there actually actively was an audience. And of course,
what we're looking to do is, grow that audience significantly, both in the UK and in the rest of the world this year.
Now, talking about F1, and obviously, huge congratulations! What a milestone! What a victory! And so, when we're looking at the grid, would you have ever, or do you consider taking the W Series to more controversial locations such as Saudi Arabia, where there's clearly, feminism issues? Do you think that racing there would be a powerful way to complement your message?
Yes, I do. I mean, I do believe in the positive force of sport. I believe that in order to make the world a better place, you need to talk and you need to communicate. I think if people don't, share the same values as you, which is the promotion of women, but I know a number of Saudis and I know a number of female Saudis who are very happy and very successful, but I think I think the best way of getting over any hurdle is to go and demonstrate how you do it. So I would welcome the opportunity to go there, because I would welcome the opportunity of Saudi seeing in the Saudi people seeing in their own backyard, what W Series is and what we've achieved.
Yeah, what a better way to really share that message.
Thank you guys for listening. Season 3 will be back with a bang in the autumn. Until then, we've got plenty of impactful bonus and bite-sized episodes coming your way. So don't forget to subscribe and share the show with your friends, because it truly means the world to us. And if you're interested in some super cool rewards like virtual DJ lessons with me, signed books from our guests, and exclusive merchandise, then head over to www.patreon.com/missionmakers to check out how you can start supporting the show for less than what it costs you to fill up your car. So till then, Mission Makers, be safe, be healthy, and be laser focused.